Hello everybody and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Deborah Hatswell and you're listening to BBR Investigations. A werewolf is seen in the Candover Valley. Today I'm sharing a case with you that centres around the report of a UK Dogman, or a werewolf type creature as our witness Willow named him. This happened in the farm fields of Candover in the Candover Valley, which is a unique rural community in mid-Hampshire, centred around a group of 5 villages and 4 very small hamlets that sits between Basingstoke and Winchester. In 1929, a buried crypt church was discovered in Chiltern, Candover, and it had been built on top of the original crypt from a 12th century burial place. That church was known as the Church of St Andrew, and it was pulled down in 1875. The crypt of the church was lost until its discovery in 1929. An annual service is conducted here every year to maintain its consecrated status. And as we know, in areas of ancient burial or worship, we often get reports of canine-like cryptids, often referred to as wolf-headed men that are connected to the land there. So it didn't surprise me when a lady who used to live in one of the small hamlets as a child contacted me to share an experience she had out in the fields when she saw a creature she called a werewolf. She contacted me in early June of 2024 and kindly allowed me to share her experience with you all. And she sent me some map images of the exact area her experience happened in. Willow said, "I live overseas now, but I'm originally from the UK and I was born and raised in Hampshire. I have a story that I've never shared with anyone before because I've always been too embarrassed to explain it. And I'm worried that people will laugh at me when they hear it. I accidentally came across one of your YouTube podcasts and then I listened to a few more of them. Now, at the age of 35, I feel like it's time for me to share what happened and to deal with it finally. I'm hoping that you can help me process it and shed any light on it, or whether, there's been any other sightings near to that place I lived since I left. Maybe you would even like to investigate it for me." I grew up in a small village called Brown Candover. We lived in a little farmhouse, although we didn't own the farm. There were some very old, derelict farm buildings on the land. I believe they've been renovated these days, but back then, the farm was overgrown and the buildings were derelict and had no glass in them. They were only used as storage. When I was about 10 years old, I used to bike up and down the old gravel track, which was part of the Wayfarers Walk that ran by an old farm there. One day, as I was biking past, I felt the need to stop for no apparent reason. I don't remember hearing or seeing anything, so I'm unsure what made me stop. It was just a feeling that I should. I got off my bike and walked up the track to the old stables and cattle yard building. As I looked into the building, I looked to my right, down along the hall, and at the end of the yard there was a building that looked like a stable, and next to it I saw what I could only describe as a werewolf. It was very tall and skinny, and it had dog-like hind legs. Its eyes were not red or yellow, but completely black, and its nose was long and thin. Its skin looked like black rubber or leather, and its hair was black, but sparse, not thick. The creature I was looking at looked at me, and although I was scared, I didn't move at first. I froze, trying to comprehend what I was seeing. And then the creature stood up straight on 2 legs and effortlessly jumped through a top window that was about 2 meters high. It didn't even struggle to do that. It just smoothly vanished through the window. I heard the sound of the jump echo down the hallway as it landed, followed by the noise of the corn from the field behind the house as it ran, and then it was gone. I ran back to my bike, raced home as fast as I could, and I never said a word about seeing it. After a sleepless night, troubled by what I saw, I decided to go back. I have no idea why I did that. And when I was there, I noticed a lot of muddy, boggy soil just before you get to the concrete of the yard. One thing that puzzled me was the presence of distinct, barefoot human footprints in the mud. I don't know who would be there or why, as there's nothing to visit on the property at all, and it's really rural. And if they did visit, why would they be walking barefoot in the mud? I later thought it could be after or before a werewolf transformation, because that's exactly what the creature looked like. As I grew up, I never told anyone about what happened, but I would sometimes have a feeling at night that it might be out there in the dark, lurking, although I never saw it again. Later, I moved to the next village of Chiltern Candover, and fog and mist would always be around at night, which unsettled me for some reason. I remember writing in my diary at night if I felt anything or saw anything unusual. Once, I was walking my dog up one of the lanes with a friend, and she stopped to tie a shoelace. Suddenly, I felt like someone was right there, watching me from the thick woods on the side of the lane. And I said to my friend, "Race you home," and I started to run. So she followed me, but I didn't tell her what I was felt when I were out there, or why I ran. Fast forward to today. I've been living abroad for the past 14 years now. This country's so new historically that I never felt anything like I did in the UK, especially at night in the countryside. I heard you talking to a lady called Katie from Oxfordshire about her sighting of a wolfman creature, and I found it odd that we all seem to have the same things in common. People always come to me, they talk to me, open up to me, tell me personal things, as if they've known me all my life. It happens a lot, and I can pick up on feelings very well and understand people's nature, intent, and motives. And I get a pretty good and accurate idea of what they're like just by being around them for a short time. It's almost as if I can feel what others are feeling. I also had a big accident. I broke my neck in 3 places. I was paralysed for a few days while they put me into traction. If you met me today, you wouldn't even know. I had to learn to walk again. But today I'm like it never happened, except for some back and neck ache. I don't know much of my family history, so I don't know if I'm gifted in anything supernatural or not. I'm just wondering if you know of any sightings near there to make me feel like it wasn't my imagination or that I'm crazy. Attached is a map of the barn and where it ran, and the X on the map is the second time I felt its presence. Thanks, Willow. I think the creature Willow saw is connected to the land down there. I think he's as ancient and as old as time. And I think when she was 10, she tuned into him, and he tuned into her. There are other reports that encircle the area. In Frensham Great Pond in the 1970s, a witness described something very similar to what she saw that sprinted over a car and took off. And there was a couple in the car, and they said they couldn't describe how it moved. And then to the southwest, we have the case of a black thing that slithered across the road, almost like a Fred Flintstone cartoon type character. And we hear that in the Dogman cases, don't we, where they drop to their belly and they scuttle across the road. The reports go all array around her. There's a report of a huge dog in the tree line on the Ministry of Defence land there in the Bramley training area in Hampshire. There's also Compton, Berkshire, Bigfoot creature report that happened in 2016. So we have an area where counties start to meet, and we know that when that happens, we get a lot of strange activity. And it would seem it's the same for Willow's experience. There's hardly anything out there when you look. It's completely rural, absolutely beautiful. And like I said, I think the old crypt and that being discovered may be one of the reasons why the creature is moving around down there. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's connected to the crypt in any way? It's just a coincidence. Because when it comes to the paranormal and the cryptids, there's no such thing as a coincidence.